Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the January 13, 2025 meeting of the Marshtown School District Board of Education. Welcome to those of you joining us here in person this evening. Welcome as well to anybody who might be joining or viewing this via the live stream. We'll do introductions before we go any farther. Board members here this evening, starting to my right, we have Zach Wall and Sarah Faltis. To my left, Karina Hernandez and Maria Morales. Seated immediately to my left here at the center table is Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools, and to my right, Mr. Randy Denham, our board secretary. We've got so far two of our student school board reps here this evening, Caitlin Yepes Ramirez and Giselle Hernandez Ibarra. Welcome back. I'm Sean Heitman. So we've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speaker's table for anybody who wants to address the board during public comment time. You'll be given 5 minutes to address the board. Please understand that Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, in order to comply with board policy, board members will not respond to comments made. Is that all the announcements, Randy? All right. With those things done, would you all please join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown Community School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes, we have at least three. We will have a special recognition right away in the recognition section from Iowa STEM. We also have an agreement from Marshtown Community College for an extension of our offering of placements, student placements and field experience. And then last but not least, we have a bittersweet retirement resignation. Ronnie Manus, who the stars must have been aligned because he is here, is put in to retire at the end of the 2024-2025 school year. Ronnie's been with us 21 plus years, I think he said. Hailed from Tennessee. Replaced Bee Niblock when she retired. Ronnie has served this district admirably during that time. He's been a long-term substitute, and then he was a teacher, and then he matriculated as a teacher librarian. We could use you, there. And then he was, if he wasn't the first, he was probably one of the first instructional design specialists, a position that David Stanfield holds. And then in the past, is it 13? How long have you been at Anson now? 11 years. Past 11 years has served as the Anson elementary principal. So like I said, it's bittersweet. It'll be strange not having him continue as part of our team, but we wish him well. I know he's got some things on the horizon too.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Wall Faltis? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Abby. Hi. Hello.
So for tonight's recognitions, first up, a recognition to Terry Busby and Dave Adlin for their generous donations totaling $800 to the Marshalltown Community School District for their upcoming leadership program. We appreciate their support, providing 59 of our local 7th and 8th grade students to receive Harvard t-shirts to wear during the Harvard Model Congress Young Global Leaders Program. So We appreciate their contribution. And then over the weekend, seeing the news about this, National Hispanic Institute High School of the Year.
I'll go ahead and take that one.
Okay.
So this Saturday, amongst all the junk email I got this email from the National Hispanic Institute, which I quickly read. And I'll go ahead and read that to you because it's pretty special. And I think all of you at the board table will remember each year we generally have some of our young people who have made ventures to Rock Island, to Chicago, to I think we've gone to Dallas or Houston or something like that. Jackie, why don't you come out too? And Justin, you can come out. So the letter read, Dear Dr. Schutte, all of us at the National Hispanic Institute wish to share that Marshtown High School was nominated by our community members, so within their organization, for 2024 School District of the Year, and you were selected. Congratulations. Marshtown High School is invested in its students, allowing them to attend our 3 summer leadership programs, the Great Debate, emphasizing debate and public speaking, the Lorenzo D. Zabala Youth Legislative Session focusing on public policy, and the Collegiate World Series, providing guidance on the college application process and an introduction to inquiry-based learning. Hopefully not their introduction, but at these experiences, Marshtown students learn that they can make new friends, create and advance their ideas, invest in their own development, and offer their talents to the community. They also learn that they can live independently as college students and feel confident in making college the next step in their professional development. Since 1969, NHI has developed leaders for the 21st century Latino community, and more than 100,000 alumni nationally and internationally exemplify the individuals who do not only aspire to do well in their careers, but also as community leaders. NHI is an institution proud to partner with high schools and school districts to cultivate leaders, and indeed we communicate with high school principals, counselors, and teachers to find the future leaders who will flourish in NHI programs. As High School of the Year, Marshtown is being honored for the partnership it has forged with NHI. The school has impressed us by sending motivated, engaged, and thoughtful students to our leadership program. The NHI representative nominating Marshtown for this honor said, Marshtown has become a strong presence in NHI's Midwest community. At this high school, NHI has become a club that recruits and fundraises and also conducts original cultural and leadership programming in both the school and local community. Its students complete the full cycle of learning, get their parents involved, and continue to staff programs annually. In the meantime, I'm happy to field any questions, blah, blah, blah. Kay Nicole Naito, Executive Vice President. So congratulations, students and staff, for building this program to where it is today, and now you're National High School of the Year with their organization. Jackie, you want to say a few words?
This is, again, one of those projects that Dr. Schutte encouraged us to engage in. So when we first started, we took turns driving students to Rock Island, out to Augustana, and then also driving them to and from Chicago. So there were a bunch of people that just threw hands in. And then we finally got to the point through Hector's assistance of getting students to all of the sessions. So that some of these have been to all 3 sessions and have grown through them. And I would like to hear more from them, because as you read that, Dr. Schutte, I just had goosebumps of thinking back as we developed this program for students. And this is why I said today during cabinet, this is why we have cell tower dollars. It was just sitting there for years until I came on, and then we found a great use getting students not only to this, but we've had some other leadership camps that students have gone to, and we've used those dollars. But when Hector's group started coming on, and I'll let him talk about their fundraising and how powerful it's been to engage our school community, our parents. The parents, in fact, one of the parents came to me and said, Mrs. Wyatt, the parents have to do the work to get the students to these events. And I said, you're welcome to do that. And they did. So I'll let Hector talk about that. But mostly the kids when they present. It's always a pleasure to hear from you as you talk about the wonderful experiences, and seeing you grow into the leaders that you have become has been, that's my mission as a leader, was to see you guys grow as leaders. So I'll let you guys talk, and I'll shut up. Mia, you guys.
NHI has presented numerous opportunities for us to think and initiate. And from these experiences, growth has become a large part of my mindset. And as a graduated participant, and so far a 2-time staff member, I can confidently say NHI has touched us all, the students, the parents, and the Marshalltown, Iowa community, as we continue to grow each day. It is amazing to see how much 1 week can impact a person. And so I have to extend, on behalf of all of us, gratitude to the board, of course, for making it possible for us to continue every year. Our sponsors, Mr. Campos and Mr. Perez, our town for sharing what we are trying to do, and of course, our families who send us off 1 week, who call us regularly to see what we're up to, and are just filled with pride that we learned something. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Mia Aguinaga, and I'm the president of NHI.
Thank you.
Hello, school board. My name is Anthony Chavez, and I'm a junior member of the NHI club. I think that my biggest takeaway from going to those experiences at NHI is that confidence is key, and it's really important to be known of what you're capable of. And that's something that really happened over there. We would all get there and be really, really shy, and then the senior members of the clubs and the senior members of the programs would help us understand they were also in our shoes, and that we could grow so much from such a short period of time was really cool to see. I really enjoyed the experiences. I always say that I never wanted to go to them when we first started, but I'll never regret going because it was so great, and it only takes 1 week to really change your life, and what I learned from the NHI experience is going to stay with me forever, and I can't say that about many other school programs, and it's really great. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that last one.
High school board, my name is Ari Herrera, and I just wanted to give a little personal perspective on how I felt about the NHI program. So at first, I believe that all members were first called down by some sort of student that previously did the institute. So in a way, we were selected to participate in the group. At first, I felt like this was just going to be a waste of time, a group that didn't really do anything, so I didn't want to be there at first, and it was just going to be a waste of time of 1 week. So I get there and I'm scared, I'm nervous, because I don't know if I'm going to make any friends or if I'm just going to be in my room the whole time. First day goes so fast, I can't even tell you guys. I made about 20 new friends, about 50 kids, 50 new friends that are out of state. Second day goes by, third day goes by, and it was the seventh day. I didn't even know it was the seventh day. I had so much fun that we had time to learn about pieces about ourselves that I didn't even know we could learn about. When I first arrived at the institute, I was so nervous. I didn't even know if I could talk in front of one person alone. I ended up leaving that institute, being able to talk in front of a whole crowd. So that's really what I love about NHI. It just makes you a new person that you never thought you would become. And that's why I really appreciate NHI and you guys for making this institute possible.
Hello, everybody. I'm just a member of the.
An important member.
I'm really an important member of NHI. I'm in my second year of high school. I entered NHI in my first year, freshman. I didn't really like how it started going. At first it felt too quick for me. Like I couldn't get attached, or I couldn't describe what I wanted to do or show my feelings to everybody in there, since I didn't know anybody in there. I think I just knew one person in there, and I had him in one of my periods, one of my classes. So he was all I knew in there, but he really helped me to grow to others, to meet and know about all the other people that were in that program. I think the person who put me in that program was Mr. Campos. He really helped me get in there and try and do my own thing, to be able to show all my personality, my emotions to everybody in there, and my creativeness and all the skills that I have and will know more in the future. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like the summer week. I mean, it was my first year. I think the first one was Great Debate, and then the next one's LDZ, and then the other one's CWS. I mean, they all stood for some different things, but they all were similar and could show you that, I mean, that you could grow and connect with others to be able to have a similar opinion on it. And I mean, it really impacted me, and I don't know. I mean, like, I see all these great people around me, and it's nice to have this kind of environment, you know? I wasn't really in that kind of environment before with most of the people around me, and it really didn't help me, you know, support myself and be able to show what I could do. But I mean, all these great people, they're like family. I mean, yeah, they really are like family. I spent like a week over there at the summer program, and at the end of the day, we all had this little get together and like this little closing ceremony, and we all showed our true heartfelt emotions to everybody, and yeah, it was a great experience. It helped me connect, it helped me grow in all different kind of ways.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's great.
You wanted to follow that?
Difficult to follow. Just want to say that NHI gives students who are oftentimes they are introverts, gives them a voice, gives them a safe space to take risks, to learn about who they are, their strengths, identify goals, life goals, find themselves in the company of equals, highly stimulating, high-achieving, thoughtful, kind, forward-thinking futurists. They're all trying to grapple with what is my place in the world and what is the world that I want to live in and how do I make that happen. And just want to thank you all, the board, for being supportive. Ms. Hernandez, especially thank you for sharing your office space with them those days when they've come in. And they do actually hold meetings every Friday, but they also will call impromptu meetings and disinvite me if necessary. We've addressed that. But they make us look very good. They make it look easy. They are such hard workers. A lot happens during the year with the club. It's not just about the summer experience. It's about what experiences they have throughout the year, through their meetings, through their fundraising, field trips that they themselves choose, organize, and holding each other accountable, helping each other through, like right now I know they're all stressed out because it's finals week. And I saw a dramatic change in them last week. Then I sensed, oh, they're under stress. So just want to thank you all for being here representing our club. And thank you for making MHS a great place for not just you, but this is a very inclusive club. Those that don't travel, there's still what we call a social membership. So we try to draw to the club like-minded students. They may not be the highest achieving students, but they're learning discipline and they're learning habits from our more disciplined students. And we've seen great differences and growth within the core club and the social club. Thank you all for supporting us.
Congratulations.
Congratulations and thank you.
I have a quick question. How many, refresh me, how many is in the club?
I'm sorry, what,
How many is in the club, refresh me?
professionally?
Oh, no, within Marshall.
Oh, I believe we're about 19 students.
Okay.
Not- There are about 19 students right now.
And then, do they offer a middle school program, this institute at all, or?
No, it starts with freshmen.
Okay,
And part of it is that there's a residential program that may be, this is a all volunteer-run organization, national level organization. I don't know the details of why eighth grade is not part of it. It may be that it's more difficult to have eighth graders leave town, leave the state. So even with ninth grade families, it's a struggle sometimes for them to let go.
is there a goal, you have 19 hours, a goal next year to have 30, 40, what's the goal?
So we're trying to grow the numbers. The goal is 5 freshmen this year. There is some
To go
attrition.
be on the trips and stuff.
Okay,
Right. There is no cap to the club. So our social membership that extends to anyone they would like to invite in. So it's basically by invitation. Either by invitation, I identify the student, or they can identify a student and propose that student to be interviewed by 2 or 3 of the current members. And there's a vote, it's very formal. And so there's a probation period. Obviously, when I recommend a student or I okay a student for summer travel, that involves looking at their grades. There is a 3.0 and 3.2 requirement, freshmen, sophomore, juniors.
all right, thank you.
Yes. So last year, we had 19 students travel, is that correct?
I'm not sure.
16 or 19, yeah.
How many total in the program that say don't travel?
Add another 10, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. And they come and go, and it's kind of organic. For some students, it's what they need for a little while because they give a sense of community. Sometimes there's a little bit of peer-to-peer counseling. Sometimes it's study groups that happen, and the students keep coming because they like the students. They feel that they're in like company. Sometimes it's students that are brought in because we want them to see how others function as a group. The academic component is central to our conversations. So we have kind of an ongoing, I know their grades. I know exactly if they've missed a class, if they've been late. So there's a little bit of case management there, but most of it happens peer-to-peer. There's a huge sense of holding each other accountable. And they are often in the same classes. And it truly functions as both an academic, social, and even professional network. I tell them this is your professional network already in place. These are the kids that are going to college. Students that you meet at the national conferences in the summer, they're all, I believe it's 98 or 99.8% of students articulate and graduate from college that are in the NHI. So to say that they are a professional network already in the making is not an overstatement. It starts now in 9th grade and 10th grade.
Mr. Campos,
Can-
can you share, sorry,
No, go ahead.
how this group has become very diverse now? So it's not just the focus of Hispanics.
So the term I use is tribal. I say we're not tribal. We are very much open to any race, any ethnicity. We have students from Morocco, from Ethiopia. We've had students from DRC. We've had drop-ins from many different countries. We have a semi-permanent member, and she is Chin. She's from Thailand, Burma. So we are very much open and looking for students from all backgrounds. We've had Anglo students in the club. They come, they go. Am I missing anything? Yeah, we advertise ourselves as an open and inclusive community. And it's a matter of students finding their niche, finding like-minded individuals that they want to hang out with. And these students, they don't just see each other and talk to each other when they meet on Fridays. They actually have become friends. And sometimes they're tough friends to have because they're pretty critical and open about their expectations. Or, I've noticed a change in you. You're no longer doing this. What's going on? And they will air this out at a meeting. And they do as much for each other as what you would hope as a parent or an adult that you could do for them. And sometimes they are the better influence. They're the shortcut to a positive turnaround. They're also kind of function as an advocacy group. They advocate for each other with teachers directly. They've started. They've started. Sorry, drawing a blank here. Thinking of the word in Spanish. They've actually advocated for each other with teachers. So that is kind of incredible before they even bring it up to an admin. So they kind of function in the way that you would want a group of friends, high-achieving, pre-professionals to function in our school system. They are seen as as leaders within the school.
Can other teachers make a recommendation for students to be in this program, or is it only by invite by you, Mr. Campos, and the students currently in it?
Teachers email me, I have these students, I think they would be a good fit for the club, and teachers have been great scouts for us.
Good.
Because if I've not taught the student or spent a lot of time with the student, all I see is a grade, a GPA. When I have an opportunity to meet a student and I see something, I often ask them to email me. This morning at presentation in Mrs. Gray's classroom, I saw a student that I'd heard speak. This was all vicariously. And I saw him again, and I asked him to please email me. And I received an email within 10 minutes. And so I forwarded him the information about the club. So it's very much organic. They select, or they recommend, I recommend, teachers recommend.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
students self-select. We've had students who've come say, hey, I've heard about this club.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, and congratulations again.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great job.
Justin, do you want to introduce the situation here?
Situation.
They want you to run out or something.
I have to do a course proposal too. Hello, good evening. So I want to just take a minute to, I was also on the phone Friday. I got a call late in the day and was from Justin Lewis, who is the head of the Governor's STEM Advisory Council of Iowa. And this is a little bit quiet. They're going to have a huge to-do on February 12th at the Rotunda at the Capitol, where there are six regions, and Ms. Gray was one of the winners of the 2024 National STEM Teacher of the Year Award. And we had a little surprise in our classroom today as they were working with cats in the vet lab, but I think they enjoyed seeing that. But I thought it was important to bring her for tonight and just share the great work that she is doing with the ag classes and just as a teacher at Marshtown High School, and really fortunate to have you and the work you do.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You want to say anything?
I don't know if I need to say anything. I would like to thank Sandy Dale was the one who nominated me. So I was nominated by a coworker for this application, and when it went through, I was kind of shocked, and then I was even more shocked and also nervous because the email from Justin was very blanketed on what it was going to be. I just knew Dr. Schutte was coming. I was like, oh, okay, this must be serious. I really want to thank Sandy Dale for nominating me. And it's nice that other coworkers and other departments see that the work that's being done and the enjoyment and the knowledge that the kids are gaining from it as well.
Yeah, it was apparent to me as we were emailing back and forth, trying to figure out what we could or couldn't do to recognize or announce that. So through email and then in person, Justin made the point of saying we had really, really good applications for these. Mm-hmm. But he said hers just stood way out from the pack. So congratulations. Keep up the great work.
I was gonna add that. So they did tell me when they first called that this wasn't just, hey, we're just gonna pull a bunch of these out. It went through a review committee. Mm-hmm. The review committee had to look at this. It was people that would not necessarily know Tara or our program, and it's work. So yes, it's great she was nominated, but there was still quite a bit of work she had to do on her end, and then had to put forward what she is doing in the classroom, and then be voted on by a council. So this is a great accomplishment. Yep. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dr. Schutte.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, we have to move on then to the consent agenda. We've got minutes from the December 16th board meeting. Dr. Schutte or Jackie, any items to note in personnel? Okay. We've got a number of interagency contracts and agreements. An agreement between Think Kids at Massachusetts General Physicians and Marshtown Community School District, a 3-year agreement with Claim Aid for Medicaid billing, business associate agreement with Claim Aid for information sharing, purchase agreement with Kessenich Ltd. for 2 oven stands for the Orpheum Kitchen, an agreement with AOPS Incorporated for K4 XLP Beast Academy, a license agreement with MTI Production for the spring musical production of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, an agreement with Donovan Group for communication and engagement related services, an engineering service agreement with Clapsaddle Garber for Reimagine Miller's survey proposal, and an agreement with Marshtown Community College for field experience placements. Questions about any of those items? None. We have 3 open enrollments. Randy, any items to note in bills or the monthly financials? Questions for Randy about bills or monthly financials? The Transportation Department would like to dispose of a Western Icebreaker sander and a Tommygate lift. And the Marshtown Learning Academy would like to dispose of 3 stationary bikes and an office chair. Questions about anything in the consent agenda? And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Faltis Morales? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Nobody's on the pink sheet, which means, Ronnie, you're up. Now it is.
For the first time I ever actually pulled it up, I've never remembered the mic. I didn't turn it on, but hey, I remembered it this time.
Well, maybe next time.
So we talked to our leadership team, and we took a little bit of a different approach on this one. Our leadership team brought up talking about CKLA, which is our literacy curriculum, how it builds on itself from kindergarten through fourth. So you don't have isolated topics and units in kindergarten and first and second, but they kind of build on each other, starting from just more of an experience and exposure all the way up and building that background knowledge all the way through. So what we're going to do today, we aren't, my wonderful instructional coach, Miss Nelson, is going to kind of lead you through that map and take you through what it looks like from kindergarten to fourth on a portion of our curriculum.
All right. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson. I'm the instructional coach at Anson. Go to the next slide there. I don't know who's in charge. Okay, so the science of reading is we've been learning it for a really long time. There's the image to your left is Scarborough's rope. So just talking about how language comprehension, that all of the red and then all of the blue, all of those parts make up a skilled reader. And part of that is building that background knowledge, having access to vocabulary, hearing and learning different language structures. So all those different things that are in the red are basically what are covered in the knowledge strand. So in grades kindergarten through second grade, the CKLA curriculum is taught in two different strands. One of them is our skills, where they're learning like phonics and that kind of thing, learning to read. And then the other portion or the other hour of the day is spent on knowledge, where it's building background knowledge about the world in which they live. So trying to close the gap on those experiences for kids to teach them about the world in which they live. So when you get to third and fourth grade, both of those strands are more interconnected. They're not separate. But for the first few years, they are separate. So the image to the right is just it just shows how how kids learn from listening comprehension so much more, especially when they're younger. And so that being said, that explains when we get to the knowledge portion of our curriculum, those are stories or information that's read aloud by the teacher. So students are listening to those with images to gain that background knowledge. And those stories are all written a grade level above where the students are, so they can be exposed to those higher vocabulary words and just gain more language. So CKLA for the knowledge, I would say almost all, if not all, of the units do map through the different grade levels. This particular image comes from the company itself, showing how, for example, how stories in kindergarten will flow through and continue on through the grades. Again, too, at the bottom with taking care of the earth, how that background information kind of builds upon itself. But I went ahead and picked out one just to show you that's more specific. So going from kindergarten all the way through fourth grade. So in kindergarten, they have a unit about colonial towns and townspeople. So if you scroll down to the next slide, it shows you, I just kind of shows some images from the stories that they are exposed to. Some of them are real pictures, obviously from historical sites that try to teach kids, probably like living history farms or things that are similar to that. And some of them in kindergarten are then taught through story, like more of a fictional story lens or historical fiction. But these stories are read aloud, and in this particular unit, the students are learning about, reasonings why people move, so like religious freedom. They learn about different farming and trades and what does that mean. How they are establishing colonies, or how their towns are becoming towns, and just the daily life of people at that time. And then in first grade, they bump to early world civilizations, which might sound like it's way off topic, but the kindergarten foundations that they learned about really weave themselves really nicely into this unit. You can go down a little bit. So this, again, when they're getting into these civilizations, they're touching again on farming, what that looked like during these ancient times, the importance of living by a river and how that provided for the people who were settling by the river. It also again talks about how they built their cities and established cities and different types of government, and also talked about the creation of writing and how the role that religion played in their lives. So there are some repeating topics that they would, again, take from what they learned from kindergarten, farming and the colonies and how those are established, to then just building that background knowledge. So then in the next grade, they have early Asian civilizations. So what they're learning in that, again, it's building off background knowledge that they had learned already about different types of farming the last 2 years. So they're learning about different types of farming. And this one obviously is showing how they're getting water to travel from like rivers to different areas to create farming. And again, that just the different types of cities and how they're being built, different types of government, more on writing. So just again, repetitive, but how it's done in different cultures and in different times. So they're using all of that background knowledge and building upon different places in the world and different time periods. And then in third grade, ancient Roman civilization. So again, you're going to see a lot of those themes repeat, but in a different time period and in a different place. Again, same thing with this civilization, those building of cities and talking about the religions. As they get into the upper grades, they add more details. Obviously, they're going to get like about food, education. They're going to get into more details where it's more broad, I would say, when they're in the younger grades. But again, they're using that background knowledge here to connect it to these things. And then again in fourth grade with the Middle Ages and the different empires. So again, those civilizations, religion, food, education, writing, government leaders, that kind of thing. So when we first got this curriculum, I remember there was a lot of pushback from teachers. It was so different, and they were like, these kids can't even say these words, and that was it's just really big topics for these little kids, but it's so fun because they actually really love it. And the words and vocabulary that come out of these kids' mouths and the things they remember, especially if you go into like a second grade class and you're listening, they will oftentimes bring up things that they have learned in previous grades that support what they're doing at that time. So it has been just a great experience seeing how much these kids have learned, and they get excited to be learning about such big topics and important things. And this is just a quote that one of our teachers, she just responded with her thoughts about this. So I can read it aloud if you want. While some of the topics may seem difficult for first graders, Amplify does a nice job of presenting the material in a way that is appropriate for the age group, usually providing a fictional story to explain the historical events. The topics of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia might seem to be too difficult for first graders. However, not only do we cover historical details, we also develop the understanding that civilizations include farming, writing, cities, leaders, and religion, which are very understandable concepts for first graders. I found these are easily connected across other content areas, subjects, including social studies units as we teach about jobs, schools, cultures, and financial literacy, and also as we are able to connect the civilization concepts into other knowledge topics such as the civilization of the 13 U.S. colonies, including Daniel Boone's exploration beyond the Cumberland Gap and Lewis and Clark's exploration of the Louisiana Territory. So what I mapped on these slides, I just chose one topic from each grade level, but they do overlap. They can bring what they've learned from previous topics into multiple different units of study that they're learning in many grades. So it's nice how they really branch off.
And it's kind of funny that we picked first grade because, like she said, we had a lot of pushback when we first started with this curriculum a few years ago. Our first grade, I can guarantee you, would have never said that about 5 years ago. So a lot of things went into just them really embracing this. Obviously, as they got into it and learned more about it and became more comfortable was a big piece. Learning a lot about the science of reading was a huge piece because they started looking at CKLA and the way it's put together and went, oh, it made perfect sense. It fit right in with the science of reading. And Jen has been very diligent about working with every grade level as she's learned it herself. So a lot of kudos go to her for our teachers really embracing what they've done with literacy with this curriculum.
Thank you. Well, it's not just literacy, huh? They're learning history too at the same time. So much vocabulary there. It's amazing. I know we went to Anson. I think we got to see a little bit of that, right? When they were reading their books.
Yeah, that was interesting. We were standing there in the back of that classroom, and I was standing next to Sean. I said, "Is this a science class? I mean, is this a science lesson?" Because it was like about sound waves, and she goes, "No, this is CKLA." I was like, "Oh, this is pretty neat." And I can remember, my son coming home and regaling me with tales of Greek mythology and stuff like that. I'm like, "Where are you getting all this stuff?" And it was CKLA. It was amazing. So
and the music stuff was actually kind of cool because they were one of the things they talk about is pitch. So in a former life, I was actually a music major. So I just happened to be walking into an ELL classroom and it came up. And so I went and brought my instrument back. But it's kind of cool to hear these kids tell me that, okay, so how do you change pitch? They talked about high and they talked about low. And they were able to tell me that they said wind, the air. So the faster the air, the higher the pitch. The slower the air, the lower the pitch. So they were able to tell me that before I attempted to play something for them. I could have brought that tonight. We could have played. Dang.
Maybe next time.
I'll just phrase it all.
Any other questions, comments from anybody? No. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Ronnie, thank you for
thank you.
in advance for all of your time in the district and all the wonderful things you've done for us. So thank you.
They haven't killed me yet, so go well.
You'll probably make it. Come on up, girls. You got to turn that back on.
Okay.
Yep.
Good evening, school board members. Okay, to start off the presentation, the MHS Speech and Debate team traveled to DM Lincoln to participate in speech competitions. The student gave incredible performances and were able to bring home 2 medals. Jalen Forgarty placed second in dramatic interpretation, and Naimare Harman placed third in original oratory. We are really proud of our Bobcats and can't wait to see how they will do in future competitions.
We had a couple MHS students participate in the Poetry Out Loud competition. Isaiah Wilder claimed first place, and he will represent MHS at the state level, which is coming soon. I tried to look up when it was, but I couldn't find it. But yeah. Students in the interior design classes crafted creative gingerbread houses. I actually went and saw a couple. They were very cute. But students in the Foods 1 class baked cutout cookies and decorated them before heading into winter break, which seems delicious.
Another thing that happened before winter break was that the MHS 9th and 10th IJAG students created holiday treats for MHS students. This was during seventh period and after 7th period.
Did you guys grab some?
I did not. MHS FFA held a holiday drive. They took presents to a few students. They were selected by, I'm assuming, their schools. So that was really neat to see.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You still got the book, guys.
Good luck on finals, too. Books Day. Anyone want to open up with takeaways? I personally really like the chapters talking about prioritization and how Eric talked about, you got work things that are hanging over you, you got family things that are hanging over you, and then you have your own personal things that are hanging over you, which oftentimes feels overwhelming, and trying to figure out how to narrow down to those top 3 things to focus on in the day, and if you accomplish those and then go on to some of the others. That was pretty, I've been at it a long time, I still haven't got that totally figured out.
Yeah, have you figured out a way to only have a 3-item list
No.
of things to get done? Yeah.
Maybe 3 in each category.
Listen.
I like the part where he talks about embrace the power of no, right? Like, it's one of those things that seems right in when you hear it, but doing it is like really hard. Like, just being able to say no to things is a struggle for me personally. So that struck me.
To kind of add on to what Dr. Schutte said about time management, I always thought that I was good at time management because I was able to handle like my vigorous course load because I take a lot of college classes. But I realized that I was just prioritizing school over anything. I would cancel plans. I wouldn't go out with my family as much. And I realized that that wasn't what time management is. I feel like time management is like being able to fit all aspects of your life into the day and still get things done. So that's definitely something I'm going to try to work on this semester. But yeah, that's something I picked up.
I thought of the same thing. With my kids and family and work and things I do around for myself, I forget about my me time sometimes, and I think that's important. One thing that I did take it to perspective, and I do it myself, but I don't do it enough that I used to do it before, was the napping. Talking about nap time and the time to reset.
Exercise. How do I take a nap?
And I nap a lot. I love napping on a daily basis, and weekends is like, and my kids used to, really get on me. It's like, oh, you're going to go take a nap. You're not a baby. Now I have an excuse.
That's right.
I literally took a picture of it and sent it to all 3 and said,
Look at the
I'm
guidelines.
resetting. I am resetting from so there's my reason for my napping all this time. So I like that part. And I think it's very true. It's much needed, and you think about babies doing it, but as adults, I think sometimes it's needed as well.
It does help. And to add a little bit to that is the one that maybe not my favorite, but I do need to put into place is the exercise. You'll notice that it mentioned one about exercising, and I think I put a lot of buts and ifs for it, but as normal or not normal, but usual New Year's resolution, right? Exercise more. So I think this is a sign to me that not only is it New Year, but even taking into consideration the different guidelines that work align well with with leadership and everything that we want to accomplish. It's getting reminded that it's also important to be able to add that in there.
Zach, Sarah?
Napping was really right up there. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to incorporate that into my day. I haven't figured out. But also, I think when a supervisor or leader comes to you with something that they feel like you need to do right away, turning around and asking them, if I do this, what would you be okay with me taking off my list? And I think that's a huge question to be able to ask your supervisor is, I'm happy to do that for you, but I have 3 other important things, right? Which one do you want me to bump in order to do this? That I think is that would be a very hard thing for me to ask instead of just adding it and trying to get it all done. I could do better at that.
That felt to me incredibly confrontational to say.
Very
to-
much
You know what I mean? And I don't
Yes.
think it is, but it just felt like, oh God, you can't say that to somebody.
Right. Almost as much as I couldn't say, I'm gonna go take a nap right now,
Right.
I'll get to it later, you know, I
Right.
mean, I don't know, that one was kind of intimidating to read.
But it's really, it's true, right? If somebody wants you to do something, okay, well, if that's that important, what's the thing that I can take that's not as important that you, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I really thought of teachers when I read that, and I thought, oh, if I were a teacher and someone asked me, you know, make this a priority, they're already, you know, going more than 3 directions all day with their priorities. So I thought, how would a teacher handle something like that, and how could they say to their principal or their, you know, whomever's asking them to do something, how could they say that? You know, just taking that mindset out of my own personal space into a teacher, I thought, that's tough. That's a tough one.
I thought on 69, beware of just working hard for a season, because that season may never end. I think that is definitely something that we do in education. We are really good at like seeing, like having a vision and doing everything we can to accomplish that vision. And there's always a next vision. So the season is always going, you know, you accomplish something and you're proud and you're excited for the benefit of the community and the kids, and then you're moving right into whatever's coming next. A great example would be the facility improvements that we've had. You know, tunnel went through, stadium's complete, CTE, Miller, I mean, there has just been constant change, which is awesome. It's just that if you think about that as a season, it is like a marathon. It's not.
The endless season.
Yeah, exactly. We just have to be careful to know how to continue to keep balance while we're pushing as hard as we do to be cutting edge for this.
Any other thoughts?
This book is really, I don't know, just making me think of the little things that I do on a daily basis, but not only on a personal, like not only on a professional level, but even of a personal level.
Yeah.
It's really like setting it for me. So it's really good. I like it.
Okay. Chapters 10, 11, 12 for the next meeting?
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
This next item I neglected to delete through an amendment, so we just need to table that.
The 404?
Yeah, early graduate approval.
Okay. Is there a motion to table item 404?
So moved.
Second.
Faltis Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. That is tabled. Jill?
Okay, that time of year again. Start to go through the course manual. We started this, I did start late. Started getting out, hey, teachers, what do you want? You know, what are some new classes you want? So there's a whole process of that, right? So with that process, we have added the following classes. I brought Mrs. Brummel, I brought Mr. Campos here with me tonight. We've all worked on this for one way or another, so just if you guys have questions, I'd like us all to be at the table. We're all gonna represent it as, we're all putting the work in for this. So teachers reached out and they are interested, and we have added for 25-26 digital illustration. Garrett Rawlings, one of our new teachers, would like to do this, so we are putting that in. Global cuisine, is another ad. Bobcat Cafe, which you have all heard, the presentation on that. Mariachi Band used to be a club, and it has grown in such popularity. We are actually adding that as a class, so that's pretty exciting. Chamber Orchestra, again, just not a lot of opportunities. We are growing and growing more kids. Have another instructor for that, so we are adding Chamber Orchestra. And then MCC, Human Growth and Development, they just would like the name change to Developmental Psychology. So MCC asked about that. The changes throughout the course guide are all highlighted in yellow. And then the 4-year plan, you will also see that we took out Algebra 1A, 1B, and we've decided as a district we're not moving forward with that anymore. So once you get to the 4-year plan, you'll see a strike through. There is, the ad there was, we're looking at a PE, like a strength and conditioning for athletes. So that is also in there. Classes we do not have moving forward. Web design, video production 1 and 2. That was a teacher that left 3 years ago and took their credentials when she left. And then algebra, of course, 1A, 1B.
What was the rationale behind that? I know it's been talked about for a while, but.
Which one?
Algebra 1A, 1B.
Please. Yeah, that'd be great.
So Algebra 1A, 1B essentially tracks students, they take Algebra 1A their freshman year, Algebra 1B their sophomore year, so they're not actually accessing geometry till their junior year. And instead, all students are funneling into Algebra 1, and then we have a side-by-side math elective that they can take, so they can have math every single day and still take Algebra 1 at the same pace as their all of the gen ed peers. It allows them to access Algebra 2 their junior year.
Right. So the elective is to support their success in Algebra 1?
Correct. Yep, we just need a full staff of
Double
math
dosing
teachers.
is what it's called.
Yeah, and we lost one this year too, so that impacted. Yeah, we need math teachers. Help us recruit them, please.
Are there other questions about the course guide?
I had a quick question on the meat cutting apprentice A and B. Is that because there's no longer that like a registered apprenticeship that used to be?
No, we are, did I have that scratched out still?
Yep, so it's on page 29.
Okay, I updated one, I don't know. So it is not getting cut.
Okay.
That is not getting, yeah, I had changed that on one, so my apologies. That is staying.
Okay.
Thank you for asking, but that is going to stay. So, again, it's just starting out here for one semester, right? So there's some information I didn't have about the meat cutting and was doing, no one could really give me an answer about what that was. I probably should have talked to the last principal. Ms. Wyan. So what I had found in conversations with Dr. Schutte, that actually was working with Fairway. So that is something we've talked at length about, and we are going to get that moving again. So I also talked to Jules McGrew, Bridget DeVinny, and I feel like it's kind of a standalone class. We need to have a meeting and just, I need to be immersed with what all is entailed. We're going to talk to those food folks about pushing that. So in global cuisine, it's just, hey, if you're interested in still doing something in foods, not necessarily maybe culinary, here's an option that we might have for you. So we're going to try to get a renewed interest in that again and use those teachers to kind of push that as well.
That's kind of where I kind of saw the connect, but when I saw it was correct, it was crossed off. That's why it made me ask, but thank you for clarifying.
You bet. And I apologize, that didn't, okay, yeah, sorry that's cut out.
It happens all the time, don't worry. That's what we're here for, to review it and ask questions.
Thank you. It is, I just want you to know, meat cutting, both of them are still in there, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're going to meet with Fairway folks and locally and at corporate, and then make sure the people that need to be in the know from Marshtown High School are in that meeting so that we can try to figure out, kind of regroup around trying to better promote and recruit kids that might have an interest. The unique thing about that program is each store can only, at best, probably manage 1 or 2 students doing it at a time. So it's kind of a niche thing a little bit. But we also added ag for the purpose, because there was 1 or 2 science classes and ag that kids need to have as part of that apprenticeship. So that was the impetus that really pushed us to start the ag program. And of course, ag has flourished with growth and students, but we just haven't found kids that have the right connection there. And in what conversations I've had locally with the Fairway managers, because it would seem like they've got a lot of kids working for them. It would seem natural to matriculate someone who they already have experience with into the program, but they seem to be very territorial about not giving up their general grocery people to the meat cutting people and that sort of thing. So I don't know. We just need to kind of regroup around it and see if we can get us. I think, if we could have a student or 2 actually do it and have success with it, I think it'll sell itself, quite honestly.
Yeah.
They're unbelievably good jobs. So.
And be able to see that local talent, and be able to upskill within the same, within same Fairway, and hopefully, have more mentors, so that would increase the number of apprentices that would be able to be in those programs.
Dr. Schutte, it might have hit itself, but did that kind of come on like just before the pandemic, so then we went into all that where we couldn't really get out and do those things, or was that, I can't remember if that was kind of before. I guess what I'm getting at is that could be part of it.
Started it before, the pandemic, but even in the first couple of years pre-pandemic, we just had a hard time probably describing it or having kids visualize what it actually was.
Well, there's a new excitement around just our culinary and our foods, and like you saw, this global cuisine. I mean, we have kids wanting to stay involved in these classes, so we needed another class. So I think for a lot of our students, this may fit the bill. So something, hey, this is interest to me, and maybe make some money on it, moving forward.
If you guys ever need any presenters or guest speakers to talk to the students to promote those registered apprenticeships, let me know. I can get you in contact with their Iowa Office of Apprenticeship, and they'll be more than happy to come and talk to students and maybe give some highlights about the programs and the successes that other programs have been, and because students like to see those successes and see those examples. I know that when I've gone to other schools and talked about registered apprenticeship, as soon as they hear it's on the job, you're going to get paid from day one, you're going to be training, and it's not an internship where you're just going to learn all these skills but not get, compensated for it, and look at the salary, it kind of, motivates them, so if you ever need any presenters to talk more, just let me know. I can get you connected with somebody.
Yeah, it's definitely been, and it's going to be another huge push this year from the governor's office.
Yep.
Other questions, comments?
How does this intertwine with the JA that we talked about the last meeting that we're looking to go towards the high school?
Well, the JA3D, there may be a course that we may need to add, but the kids are in the core classes just like they normally would be. They're just taught a little bit differently, covering the same standards. A lot of what they learn is predicated on case studies and real world connections, business connections, either local or national. So that's kind of the beauty of it, because as those of us that have made trips to these schools, you walk into the classrooms and it doesn't look a whole lot different than our current classrooms. But then when you really pay attention to what the conversations around, what the projects are that are being worked on, then you see that it's different. But the kids all would have a base course that's usually an elective course, like a business course. I think they call it the launch. But outside of that, and we're still at, I mean, we've been working towards this implementation, but we're still at an early junction in terms of now figuring out really boots on the ground, what do we need to have done, and
The courses would be like all 9th graders funnel through Algebra 1. You can be a 3DE Algebra 1 kid, or just, you know, the regular traditional classroom Algebra 1. Still going to show up on your transcript as though you earned a letter grade in Algebra 1. Does that make sense? Same for ELA 9, or, you know, reading or ELA literacy 9th grade. You can be 3DE 9th grade. You can be 3DE not, or sorry, you can be traditional classroom 9th grade. It's going to show up on that transcript the exact same. You earn the exact same credit whether you're in 3DE or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It just enhances more hands-on activities and more leadership skills and different case studies and working with businesses and going from
What do we have, like, if we're talking to 8th grade parents, and we're talking about this 3DE, do we have any material, like, we could say, hey, you need to, if you have an 8th grader, you need to be looking into this?
We did that early December.
Okay.
December 4th. There was a 8th grade to 9th grade transition night or orientation, I can't remember what we called it. And we had a screen going that all 8th graders had already viewed at school. And then we played that video on loop that explained what 3DE is. We had additional information in English and Spanish, and then we talked to every single parent and kid that went through about just telling us they're interested, yes or no, and they completed a Google form for us.
And when do they have to make that decision by?
Well, we had time. We just wanted to know, because we were exploring 3DE, we wanted to know, is the interest actually there in that 8th grade, incoming 8th grade group? And we have, I think it's 125 already, with probably another 50 kids floating out there that have indicated, yes, they want to learn more about it. So, there's a lot more to do with students and parents, and they can on-ramp or off-ramp up until school begins.
Other questions
Not on the course manual, thank you.
on the course? Yeah. Then, is there a motion to approve the 25-26 high school course manual?
So moved.
Second.
Faltus Morales? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're up, Jackie.
So when I came into Human Resources, I discovered that there's a lot of very personal information that gets collected from our applicants as they take on jobs.
Hey, Jackie, that mic's not on.
Not on?
Now
There
it
we go,
is.
it's on now? Okay. So there are, it's a lot of information that we collect from employees as they take on jobs here in the district. In particular, for our certified staff, as required by state policy, we collect fingerprints from non-initial licensed teachers. So that would be a veteran teacher coming into the district. They're on a standard license and they have not worked for us before. So this manual, which is, we refer to it as CRE, but the Criminal History Record Information, is provided to give transparency on how those fingerprints are used, why they're taken, what they're used for, who has access to them. If the employee has wants information, they can come in and speak with us. We cannot allow them to take photocopies of the information we receive. So it's a very strict policy regarding how we keep that information and then how long we keep it. So in accordance with board policy, we will keep it 7 years after an employee leaves the district. And then we will be keeping it under 2 locking keys in the HR office. So in a file cabinet that's locked, in a closet that's locked. And only the employees in the HR office have those locks, the keys to those locks. None of this information is ever transmitted digitally. If there was, we'd have to have a whole nother policy on digital transmission, but there is no reason for us to, because we cannot share it with anyone anyway, except for the employee. So we just wanted to make sure that you were familiar with this. It's also a way of informing the public on how this information is handled and why we're doing it.
Questions?
This manual has already, because this is an update, so it was already in place?
No,
and it's just being updated, or
it's
is this
not?
new?
It's never been used before.
Okay.
So it's brand new.
It's brand new.
Brand new.
And then once I have your approval, we will have to send it to the department, the DCI.
So will only new staff get this manual, or will this be shared with everybody?
So, I mean, anybody can see it. That's the purpose of it, is to be very transparent about the fingerprints. But the fingerprints are only taken for teachers on the standard license new to the district. And this is a service that's provided free through the Marshalltown Police Department. So it doesn't cost them anything. It does cost us money to have it processed through the FBI. Great questions.
And it's for only certified staff, or
Only
staff
certified.
So not staff in general?
Correct.
I may have missed it. I probably did. We're required to fingerprint them?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just getting voted on tonight, or is just coming back for a second reading? What do we do here on this policy?
I mean, it's on there as an action item.
Okay. Sounds good.
So is there a motion to approve the MCSD CHRI procedure manual as presented?
Move for approval.
Second.
Was that you, Karina? Hernandez Faltis? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This next topic will come back at another meeting, as will the strategic plan. So I'm happy to be at a point where we're presenting a draft calendar for 2025, 2026 to the board to review and provide feedback on. In many ways, it looks very similar to our calendars of the past. Some things, highlights as are listed in the agenda. There's 5 pre-service days, which is a little bit less than what we've normally had prior to the start of the school year. Within 5 days, you have a non-mandatory work day by contract, and then we also have a full day of virtual learning. So it's really, Shawnee has 3 days to figure out work or magic on. The first day of school for students is Monday, August 25th. That's the earliest we can start because the 23rd, which is the official start date, falls on a Saturday. That's why it'd be nice to have some legislative change to where once the state fair is over that you can start whenever that lands. There's 4 half-day early dismissals built in for either parent-teacher conference prep or grading, which has always been a condition that we've had with the MEA. One of the unique features is for parents and students, there'd be a full week break the week of Thanksgiving, because that would accommodate 2 of our professional development days, which Sean has been working on bringing a very special training for all of our staff with Solution Tree, the same ones that sponsored Los Soluciones. Also, because of the way the calendar falls, this calendar calls for a full 2-week winter break, December 22nd through the 26th. We've identified President's Day as a possible snow makeup day. It's a professional development day right now, as it typically is, and if that were to happen where we needed to repurpose it to a student day, then we'd push the professional development day to the end of the year. Spring break, once again, thankfully aligns with not only Marshtown Community College, but Iowa State, UNI, University of Iowa. So it's always good when those stars all align. And then the last day for students would be Thursday, June 4th, and last day for teachers, June 5th. I meet with a calendar committee tomorrow, which for the most part has a rep from each building to talk about it, get feedback on it. Usually it's after that I send out an all-staff survey, but decided to send an all-employee survey out a couple weeks ago preceding this meeting, and the survey results were very favorable towards the 2-week winter break, the full week at spring break, and we threw out a survey question in addition to the thought exchange, and it was about a 60-40 split in favor of a full week spring break versus a shortened week. And the reason I did that was because the early feedback I was getting, we love the 2 weeks at Christmas. We love the week-long spring break, but we don't like ending on June 5th or 4th. But you can't have it both ways. I mean, you either have a short spring break or you have a shortened Christmas, and then you get done a little bit earlier. As I think all of you know, we have a 190-day teacher contract, so 178 of those days are student contact days, and the rest of it is filled up with professional development. Now, it might feel a little awkward to them lately just because we've had instances in the last couple of years where we've forgiven student days because we had 1,080 hours is the minimum for student days, but we have far more than 1,080 hours because our hours are more equivalent to the teacher contracts, because teachers want to spend their time with students, versus being in training all the time or whatever. So we have had a few instances where we've forgiven student days, and then we've had teachers make up a portion of those days through adding 15 minutes of their contract day for X period of time, or maybe doing a virtual PD to make up or something like that. But there really is very little latitude in being able to, to meet all of those desires that everybody has. So, but any questions or comments on the calendar?
The only comment, I guess, question is, I'm sure you've thought about this, is this a long-term project at Miller? But if it goes out to bid, if we could start earlier start earlier those 2 days, possibly move some other days, does a week help? If we got done later in May, does that week make a difference for construction?
Well, if you ask the construction people, they'd probably say yes, just because they want everybody out of there. But the reality is the first phase, at least as it's been planned, is primarily the external additions, which shouldn't really impact other than the logistics of how they stage things. It really shouldn't interrupt the day-to-day of the school.
I'm going to get this question. Does that put graduation on the 31st of May?
It will need to move graduation, yeah. Okay. Which is something that if we can nail that down, it would be good to add that to the calendar.
2 weeks. Fair way to go.
Yeah, the reason for that is that by law, seniors can only be, school can only be held no more than 5 days longer than the seniors are in session. So snow days don't matter. So if you had seniors getting out a week before everybody else, and you had a bunch of snow days, seniors wouldn't have to make those days up, but you can't draft a calendar that would release seniors any more than 5 days from when everyone else is. And in a lot of districts that I'm familiar with, they have seniors pretty much go the same amount of time as everybody else, thinking, you know, why would they need less learning or what have you.
Other questions, thoughts?
I appreciate the alignment with the regional colleges for sure. And being a former parent here with college students, that really helps a lot. And I'm sure it helps with attendance.
Yeah, and I advocated for the first few years I was here because it didn't always align, and I couldn't ever quite understand that. I think it was because of whatever the unique circumstances were in the schedule that MCC had developed. And they were more worried, of course, about staying on their schedule than aligning with other people. But I don't even know that there's been a purposeful change, but for some reason, it's been a long time since it didn't align. It's aligned most all the time. And, you know, we really, for our kids' sake, have to align with MCC because we have so many kids doing the dual credit stuff. But, you know, we have a lot of people that commute and work for Iowa State, and, you know, it's just very awkward. And you don't want to set up a situation where kids have spring break because when ours falls, and then because Iowa State or Iowa holds it a different week, they're gone that whole week too, which then there's 2 weeks of learning gap. So
It'll be a tough first 3 weeks of December. You go a full week of Thanksgiving and 3 weeks of school and 2 weeks off. It'll be tough. It'll be good.
okay, so this
Will come back the first meeting in February for approval. Strategic plan.
Yeah, so I'm also very happy to bring forward our draft of the strategic plan. I think it's fair to say there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over this.
Tears.
Blood.
Oh, goodness.
Blood? Tears and blood.
It's been a long time coming. We started, you know, last January, about a year ago, in seeking input first from our stakeholders, primarily staff, and then our parents. And we just simply asked the question, what's going well and what needs improvement within the district. And from that information, we largely use that to craft the core beliefs. I think we also asked, you know, what are you proudest of and that sort of thing. What do you like most? The core beliefs, which we hadn't had before, in addition to our mission and vision, were crafted from that input, and then the prioritized areas for continuous improvement. And then, as you know, we contracted again, because we did this shortly after I came to the district, with Dr. Stillwell and Dr. Verlinja to facilitate conversations of our full administrative team. A lot of those were held at the Orpheum Black Box around this information, as well as further information that they got from us. And we landed on similar goal areas. Some may be worded a little differently, but we landed on similar goal areas as what we have previously had. And from that, we did SWOT analysis collectively on these items. Spent a few sessions on that. And then we kind of divided and conquered amongst our team into groups of 3 to 5 people to further define what types of strategic actions could get us to where our desired outcomes were. And so we have 5 goals. We have champions of each of those goals. They're stuck with me and being the assistant champion on each of those goals.
I noticed.
And Shauna is going to speak first to the student achievement pillar.
Okay. So this was really exciting for us because we were able to really think through what is something that we can target district-wide that would be similar in nature. And I think, at least with the team that I worked with, we just decided the Iowa School Performance Profile is probably the best way to look at the multitude of measurements that occur around a single building, and then to really think through the lens of what would be our goal or what would be the status of achievement. So we said by 2030, each MCSD building will attain a commendable status or higher as measured by the Iowa School Performance Profile. We felt like that could have been much more wordy if we didn't use the Iowa School Performance Profile. I know each of you have already been in there and kind of looked through all those different measurements that are there. But I think because the state of Iowa uses that, and we know that it's public, and we continuously go back to that to look at the progress that we've made, we felt that that was a great measurement to be able to show the achievement that we have here in Marshalltown. So down below that, we have the different actions that we felt are notable, and you might look through there and kind of think, well, there's, this is missing or that is missing. We were really trying to think through the lens of what will help us stretch, and grow. We have a lot of things that are already in place that we believe are high quality. But really what we have noted here is continuously trying to look at improvement. So accelerated learning, believing that every student can achieve those grade level standards. Professional learning communities and NIET will still be a foundation. You might be wondering why SEL is not included there. That comes later in the environment pillar. And then just the implementation of our adopted high quality instructional materials. And we just continue to, I know tonight you heard from Anson how important it is for the teachers there to learn and implement CKLA. We continue to work towards that. In all subject areas, you see ELA, math, and science listed there specifically because that is a part of the Iowa School Performance Profile. So if you look at the academic achievement, those 3 measures are there. And then we have a lot of supplementary programs you guys probably have noticed. We always bring those to you where we kind of come back and we update you. We have a few that are noted there because those are really like outliers. They help us stand out as a district beyond kind of your status quo district that would be here in Iowa. So we want to just keep pushing for our kids to have those extraordinary kind of experiences that are going to better prepare them for the real world. We did include special education practices. I don't know how familiar you are with the new Iowa School Performance Profile statuses, but we were targeted with students with IEPs, so we felt like that would be a really critical part of our action plan to really drill down into special education and make sure that we are exiting some of those targeted statuses that are currently assigned. There's a lot of complexity to that, but we are up for that challenge and working to replace Matt's position as well, and that person will be a key leader. And then fostering those.
Be a champion along with you.
Yes, we'll add to the champion list. Yes, exactly. And then we'll have some business partnerships, and we want to continue to grow our work-based learning here at Marshalltown. So that last bullet there, letter C, implement and execute 3DE. We're very excited about that as well. We've already talked about it tonight, but that is our pillar. We're very excited about what the next 5 years can bring and very driven to try to meet the goals that are in front of you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
On the pillar for staff development, not only am I the champion, but Shauna would be part of that as well as Dr. Schutte. As you've mentioned multiple times tonight about the stressors that teachers can experience, but we think about, when we think about professional development, staff development, we think about all of our employee groups, including our classified staff. So one of our goals is to have 95% certified staff retention. That would be awesome, especially get those special ed teachers back in the classroom and lower those rosters. And then to hang on to them every year, right? We don't want to train them well and then have them move away. We want to keep them here. So by 2030, we want to enhance professional development through differentiation, improving employee expertise and satisfaction. I would say that the teachers new to the district say over and over again how much they feel supported when they are onboarded with their mentoring program, with Julie, with the ladies in the HR office, welcoming them and presenting them with their packets of information. There's a lot of things that they have to take in, not just the fact that they're going to be teaching. So we want everybody to feel that 100% of the time. So when we talk about improving professional development for all of our groups, we need to know what their needs are. And so we're talking about bus drivers, bus monitors, paraeducators, everybody, custodial staff. There are things that are going on in their arenas that they need professional learning around, and not just through an online class that they take for safety training at the beginning of the year, but it should be purposeful. When the district brings in a speaker and spends some money for a speaker, then everyone should know if they're expected to be there. I've approved an investment in a topic that's meaningful, like adult SEL, that is beneficial to all of our employees, not just to the certified staff. So I think that's kind of been my perspective this year, is really how do we support everyone's learning in the district, because we have invested a lot of time in our employees and we want to keep them. We want them to feel valued. And that's the perspective that I really want to bring. Is so identifying their needs. And then evaluation. It's too funny because I just sent emails yesterday reminding a few folks about some evaluations that are sitting there ready to be done. So it's just helping. It's a lot of work to think about our evaluation system. It's nice because we have a nice platform to do that in and keep our records all together. But it does require constant monitoring to make sure you watch the deadlines so that everybody gets the feedback. Feedback is how they are going to reflect and grow as individuals. And to know, again, that they're supported and to be recognized for the great work that they're doing.
Thank you. All cover the learning environments. Similar to the previous strategic plan, learning environments kind of encompasses two distinctly different things. One is the obvious, the physical environments, for which we've made a lot of inroads in the recent past, and with the advent, as was mentioned before, the PEPL being renewed and doubled, giving us more capacity to do more work sooner, and then the $57 million bond referendum that our community supported us on for Miller for a $106 million project. We've got a lot of work to do in the next 4 years, for which this is a 5-year plan in terms of bringing Miller from an idea and a vision to actually fruition with a completed project. At the same time, however, because we never stop, we'll be doing embarking on an assessment of all 6 of our elementary schools to see what kind of future improvements need to be made there, and invoke a facilities task force in that work, a community-based facilities task force along with the board in that work, so that they can help us prioritize what needs to be done first, second, third. And then we still have a little bit of work to do at the high school as it relates to the extracurricular facilities with baseball and softball. We're going to try to chip away at some of those low-hanging fruit that we know that we can accomplish over time, but at some point we'll have to bring those up to the same standard that we're bringing these other facilities up to as well. The other piece, which is a huge piece and part of a big part of the reason that we divided out Matt's former position into 2 positions, is the social, emotional, behavioral health piece. And we're probably one of the few districts in the state that actually have its own strategic plan around that, which is due to be revised, renewed, and at least developed into a 3-year plan, if not longer. We put recruit mental health partners. We need to rebuild our mental health partners. I mean, it's been sad to see due to staffing concerns how, at one time we had 8 different agencies providing mental health support services on site in our schools. And now we're at a point where even our largest provider and our strongest partner, Central Associates, had to pull back from providing those kinds of support. So hopefully we can figure out a way with in-person as well as virtual supports to provide our students and their families what they need in that regard. Chronic absenteeism is going to continue to be a big focus as well, and anti-bullying efforts in terms of educating parents, students, staff will be an ongoing effort in that arena too. Abby.
Best for last. Sweet. Oh, we do have one more? Oh.
Yeah, she was just noting that we were saving the best for last.
Yeah, that's Randy.
Hey, no, when I was looking at my sheet, it looked like mine was at the end. So with communication and engagement, really with our group, we really thought about the tools that we have here in the district, thinking about, the language and really serving the needs of our students and families, and with as many languages as there are in the district, thinking about, standardized protocols and proactive strategies that we can implement at each of our buildings. That was one of the conversations that we had within our group, really thinking about, how do we ensure no matter what building that you're going to, there's a standardized way of communicating going forward, serving our families. So one of the ways that we thought about that with multi-pronged approach, improved communications, including staff training, enhanced multilingual accessibility to better serve our families and community needs, and then unified communication platforms across all schools. So thinking about those templates, thinking about, there's something that's reassuring that you can go back to no matter who you are. It's not just hey, I need to call up the communications director. I have something put in place that I can rely on and go back to. And then thinking about community bonds as well, creating a dedicated community relations liaison position, developing parent education offerings as well, alumni network, revitalizing the Marshalltown CSD School Foundation are some of the pieces in that area. And then at the end, thinking about crisis communications. This was one that was brought up, thinking about, more and more in the news, thinking about the situation that happened in Perry, really making sure that we have plans in place, knowing that our people know what they're doing. So really documenting communication protocols, specialized response team training, and making user-friendly emergency operations documentation, so updating it, making sure that they're up to a level that is standardized, most recent, really reflecting what we have going on in the district. So that's the communication and engagement piece.
My turn. I think as we worked through this, we found this probably to be the most difficult. And the reason I say that is because as we were coming up with different actions and goals, we found that they fit better other under pillars. So I think kind of where we landed was, for a lot of this, is just to continue doing what we've already been doing as far as sustaining a lot of these strong financial health indicators. I think, as we see the growth and the success of the other pillars, that'll kind of lean on the success of this pillar, as well as having those resources available to ensure that we're enhancing our educational environment and increasing our staff retention and things of that nature. So that first one, that strong financial health, again, that's looking at doing what we're continuing to do and what we've been doing the last several years is continue to monitor that. Regular updates and monitoring to the finance committee and the board as we normally do with our projections and reports. I think with number 2, sorry. I thought you were going to say something, sorry. For enhanced infrastructure and energy efficiency, the challenge here will be, coming out of a COVID world and having funding for the last several years, seeking grants and other funding opportunities to continue to do the great things that we've been doing will be key in that. So we'll be looking at different ways and opportunities that we can continue to fund some of those opportunities for our students while still being mindful of managing those financial health metrics. And then developing creative solutions. While we want to increase staff retention and new hires and promote folks coming to our district, the reality is that we are in a world where the talent pool is much shallower than what it has been in prior years. So to hedge our bets, I guess would be the best way to say that, where we're going to want to create service solutions that we can maximize offering opportunities for kids that maybe we need to get creative. And I think AI has been one of those conversations over the last, several months of, something that can be done without, not necessarily to replace people, but might be a resource to help staff to take a burden off of them to then in turn recruit and retain people to have them serve in other areas.
Yeah, to Randy's point, I think we felt pretty good about our strategic plan around this pillar until we realized.
So we started talking to everybody else about it.
Staff development already has that, and learning environments already has that. So we kind of morphed ours into theirs. But the reality is everything evolves around having funding in order to support it. So that makes complete sense. But we're definitely open to other strategic actions if the board thinks there's some that we're missing. We've got a lot of work to do once we do get this plan approved to develop SMART goals and implementation plans or action plans around each of these strategic actions as well, which I'm sure is going to bring forward some other metrics that we'll be using and you'll be hearing about. I think the thing I was happiest about with this, other than the collaboration and pulling it together, was very early on when Doug and Jim were working with us, they recognized that equity was pervasive through all of these areas and talked to us about, we don't want equity to be a standalone item falling in one of these categories, but if we can weave it throughout all of these, even without being explicit about it, that's really the best case scenario. So I thought that was really a really cool insight that they had shared with us.
Questions, comments?
I have a couple of clarifying questions. I know you mentioned last time a little bit about possibly a community relations person also with the foundation. Can you elaborate a little bit more kind of what that would entail?
I don't know that we really know for sure what it could or should look like. We just know that at some point that will be helpful in order to take us to the next level, to have somebody that's laser focused on helping bridge those connections, build those connections, enhance those connections. In a lot of school districts, that position is maybe a shared cost position with a community entity. In some, it might even be fully funded through the community to be a liaison and housed within the school. So there's a lot of different examples of it, especially in larger districts like ours and larger across the community. So it's kind of a wish list type of situation. And then there's a lot of potential for us, I believe, building out our alumni connections, our alumni network, and leveraging, future support from alumni. There's, as we've seen in many different cases, there's people that graduate from Marshtown High School, Marshtown Community School District, are proud of doing so. And so, figuring out a way, because right now it's kind of like another thing on people's plates that they don't really have the time to invest in it. Sometimes those positions, just like a foundation director, are funded externally or as part of like the foundation or something like that. So we just know at some point we need and want to do something like that. What it will exactly look like or who will participate in the expense of that would be still unknown. So it's not a top priority in comparison to other things that are on that list, but we just want to keep it on the radar as a future hope and dream, I guess.
Would that person, in this case, would the foundation try to raise money for causes for the school district for a foundation, or we're still?
Well, the foundation right now serves primarily as a flow through for special projects. So it only even gets utilized or invoked when something big is happening. So the last big thing would have been Roundhouse Phase 2. So a committee spearheaded the fundraising. They used the foundation to house the donations, which then came over to the school district. In a lot of districts, foundation's primary purposes are to help support like teacher mini grants to implement innovative ideas that they submit kind of as a competitive grant type thing and do that sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways it can go. I just know that a Marshtown Schools Foundation could do a lot more good on a more regular basis than it does, but it probably needs to operate more like the MCC Foundation than it does, what it was designed to do originally. And those entities, those foundations are generally and purposely created and led by non-school people, non-school district employee people, in order to kind of keep a firewall between the foundation and the school district. They work very closely together, but if something happened in the district that would create pause for wanting to donate to the district, the foundation, being a separate entity, could still go about doing what they do and hopefully not be damaged in terms of reputation or whatever for that sort of thing.
The other questions I have, I know it's early on and I haven't read through everything on here, but absenteeism, I know is what we're working on, striving as a board and this year. And, one thing I think that I keep hearing is we're putting all the resources in to help with that, but kind of the hang up at some point is, trying to work, the county shorthanded. How do we strategically get across with that to, provide, help out with the absentee piece?
Well, we probably should have Ellie come back and present now that we're halfway through the school year. We've got some pretty amazing data on how the chronic absenteeism has been reduced through our collective efforts from what it was a year ago. So we can put that on the radar to have her come back and share some of that data, and then revisit some of the steps we're doing within the district. Primarily, the county attorney's office is certainly a partner of ours, but as you said, they're fairly limited, but we're working much more closely this year with them than we ever have since I've been here.
The other piece, part of the strategic plan, was facility improvements and developing a long-term facility modernized plan. Something that just kind of I've thought about. I drove by Rogers the other day, and I noticed that it's fixed up really nice. Whoever painted the doors nice. It looks really nice, and we're not talking huge expenses, but you drive by Hoagland or some other schools where it could use a little touch up. Do we have a plan together or a committee together just to visually look at just easy fixes on stuff like that?
Well, that's largely the responsibility of our buildings and grounds director in collaboration with the building principals. About this time of year, they start to
Yeah.
have those tours, create those lists, and that's what you see come before you as the summer project list.
So I guess I'd come back and ask then, when we talk about work development program, I think we talk culinary or whatever, working with Fairway, working with stuff, and I don't know if this is a Todd or whoever question, but, can we teach these kids how to paint, teach these kids how to do some trades within the school system to help out, kind of like I think you did with the kids with the para program.
Oh.
Some type of program we could empower kids to help, teach them different tasks, make a program out of it. I don't know, just give an idea.
Yeah, over time, we have done those sorts of
Okay.
things in select areas. The supervisor's got to be supportive of it, and but we have kids that work the grounds crew in the summer. We have kids that have worked in food service. We do some of that, but they have to have an adult overseeing them, and so sometimes that's a challenge.
Okay. And then solvency ratio, I guess, is this, I'm assuming this is ISB, what they recommended. I know the committee kind of wanted a little higher number at one point. I don't think we ever agreed on that. but-
Board policy is 8%, and
Okay.
we did talk about getting into that 10 to 15% IASB range.
Okay. Again, I know this is a working document at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
but it just, was there a reason for 5, or that's just kind of what ISB recommended?
Yeah, it's still just the IASB range. So.
Okay. But I think the only thing just kind of crossed my mind is appearance, buildings outside, just the appearance. I don't know how that piece fits in there.
Curb appeal.
Curb appeal, thank you. So Roger's done a great job. I don't know what's going on over there, but
I think that was mostly volunteers.
Yeah.
volunteers, yeah, looks really good.
Principal Brookwell reached out to some of the early connections that she made here in the community.
Yeah.
Say, hey, how can we make this happen? So that's kind of how the outside facade of the building came together. Plus, she's done a great job in terms of rallying her team together, really taking pride within the building. So some of the like pulling weeds stuff, I know a crew of them came together just to help out the building that way.
Okay.
And I think some credit needs to go to Eric Whedon as well, who spent a lot of time over there working with Brooke and making sure we're taking care of things, not only aesthetically, but from a safety standpoint as well. So there was quite a bit of work that was done over there over the summer on the grounds.
Yep. Looks really good.
I think I hear what you're saying though, Zach. I think you're asking that we look at all of the buildings in the same way that maybe the curb appeal of Rogers was looked, and seek areas for opportunity and improvement,
Correct.
whether it's here or not.
Correct. I think, we look at the long-term picture, what do we need to do with the building cost-wise, whether it's roofs, whether it's expansion, but I think also we need to make sure we're looking at the year-over-year curb appeal.
Visual audit almost.
Correct.
Other questions, thoughts?
I do. I lost my thing. So, can you elaborate a little bit on the, if I can find it. It was on the research for early childhood.
An early childhood center.
Yeah.
I think we've talked many times that there's discussion with our legislatures around potentially extending the preschool funding to a 1.0 funding. And if that were to happen, we would essentially need to double our preschool staff, and then we would need significantly more space because our preschoolers right now come for a half a day, transition out, we bring in a whole nother class. So this has actually been on our radar for about a year and a half, just thinking, what are we going to do if and when we need more space? And early childhood has a lot of different regulations for students. You know, you need to have significant square footage for kids, smaller. It's kind of interesting. The smaller the kid, the more space you need. And then it needs to be on a, you know, it cannot be stairway accessible. You know, so even if you have, you know, a basement setting, there can be a ramp where they can get, but they cannot travel via staircase for any sort of like fire escape kind of feature. So long story short, we're very excited about the potential for the need for an early childhood center, because right now we're seeing steady, if not slight increase in preschool numbers. And Abby's really helped with thinking through the lens of like preschool sign up and how do we continuously try to recruit in families who have preschool age students. And the needs of our students continue to rise with some of our, you know, 3-year-old students that we serve, and we just want to make sure that we're able to serve them the best that we can. And we think an early childhood center could be incredible for that. Could be inclusive of before and after school care, to be a lot more conducive to families and working parents as well.
A secondary benefit would be it frees up space in the elementary schools that does not exist right now, and so it would give them 1 to 2 additional classrooms to be able to repurpose.
So as of right now, we only get half the credit if we offered something, correct?
You only get
0.5 funding per
funding.
funding.
So that's why they have 10 hours a week.
And then 3-year-old preschoolers do not attend on Mondays. They have 4-day weeks.
Okay.
And as per, you know, the research would show you it's particularly important for students from low socioeconomic, which, you know, is a large percentage of our students that having that full day preschool experience is significantly helpful towards getting them towards proficiency earlier, ideally by 3rd grade.
Are we turning kids away today that want to go to preschool?
At the beginning of the year, we had about 11 to 14 that were on a list that we weren't allowed, like we were already at capacity.
Do we look to partners for that?
We do. We have, even with partners.
Even with partners,
at capacity,
okay.
Yeah. And then this year, our preschool partners have been serving special education preschool students as well to really help us out, which has been a wonderful change. So,
do we need to put ourselves in a better position in case we go to full funding sooner?
well, I believe, but it's hard to predict the future, that we will have the option, like we will indicate whether we offer a full day or a half day preschool.
Yeah, I think I would anticipate that the rollout of that would be very similar to years ago when we went from half-day kindergarten to full-day kindergarten, where parents were given options of full day. Most of them choose full day, but half-day was an option. And, you know, we'll still have some parents that don't feel like preschool is for them also. So, you know, we've talked about, as we're looking at alternative sites to temporarily house potentially Miller students and staff, we're also looking at sites for the future for being able to accommodate full day or become an early childhood or preschool center.
That's a tough one because they do have so many requirements, regulations for early childhood. So it would need to be a space that's at ground level.
Other thoughts or comments?
I appreciate all the topics on each pillar and how it's being targeted to what is important for our district. Yeah, I appreciate that. And communication, definitely, you know, being transparent and including that parent engagement and that diversity of languages that we have. I think it's important.
So I would say a couple of things. One, as Dr. Schutte noted, you guys have been working on this for how long, Dr. Schutte?
Pretty much a year off and on.
Long time, yeah.
So you guys are intimately familiar with this document and what's in it in a way that none of us are. So, we've had 4 or 5 days now to start looking at this. So it'll come back in a couple of weeks. I would encourage everybody to really spend some time on this document ahead of that meeting. And then my other thought is, and Dr. Schutte, Randy, you guys alluded to it, in that resources pillar, is there a way to incorporate some additional metrics or measures under some of those items under your strategic actions? Similar to the way you've got the ideal range for the solvency ratio at 5 to 15%. Are there other measures that you can incorporate, right? You've got your cash reserve, right? Do you want to include some sort of a measure on, not a dollar amount necessarily, but an X number of days of cash reserve?
Yeah, we can.
I mean, that's just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's a good thought, and
because it right now just reads as a list of things.
Sure. And I think, a lot of that's in board policy too, but yeah, we can definitely put more specific metrics in there. And to your point, and do something along those lines. Yeah, we can work on that.
That was my thought. But I agree with you, Karina. I like the way, you've got the, you start with your core beliefs, right? And then you've got the areas for continuous improvement. And then all those pillars tie back to those things, which I thought was, that's really good. So those are my thoughts. Mm-hmm. And again, we'll get another chance to talk about it in a couple of weeks after we've had some more time to look at it. So,
is this work being done individually, or is it a group of put together of staff, or I guess can you explain that a little bit?
How we did it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we worked as a collective group originally with Jim and
Tom?
Tom.
Okay.
Doug.
Thank you.
And because there's a lot of Tom.
I'm a Doug.
Or Doug.
Jim.
Doug and Jim. Dr. Doug and Dr. Jim. Yeah, we were collective the first few times that we met, so as our full administrative team at the building and district level. And then when there was a lot of brainstorming and stuff that went on, and then it got to the point where we had identified basically similar goal areas to what we had had in the past. We had agreed upon that. And then we divided into groups of, maybe as many as 5 or a little bit more people around each of these pillars to start developing some of those strategic actions. And then,
very similar to what happened I think I was part of it long time ago.
Yeah.
Very long time.
You guys would have engaged probably early on for the information gathering or whatever.
I was not a board member, but I was staff.
And then we as a cabinet spent a couple meeting times just really further refining and that sort of thing.
Nice. Thank you.
This is not related, but we have a PD day on Friday, and we have an AI, artificial intelligence, keynote coming in, and it's virtual, and I'm going to send you the information. If you want to jump in, you are more than welcome. I think anyone who wants to learn about AI will very much benefit from it, and if you're in there for 5 minutes and it's not beneficial, you're not going to hurt our feelings either if you need to jump off. So someone said AI, and it made me think it's virtual. Yeah, I just was like, if I don't tell you now, I'll forget. So I wanted to make sure I invite you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shauna, when we get to the upcoming events or whatever at the end of the meeting, you might want to mention the Harvard
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Thank you.
Stadium project?
Done. So, just some punch list items. I know there were some issues with the scoreboard height. We did get notification from FEH, I believe it was early last week, that all punch list items related to the stadium project are finally complete. So in front of you tonight is a request to approve acceptance of completion of that project. So essentially for my purposes, I can actually formally get it on the books and then approve the release and payment of the final retainage amount in the amount of $14,170.05.
Questions?
So the scoreboard's fixed?
To my understanding, yes.
Okay. And then another question is, I went to a game last year and I noticed like some of the bleachers, just some of the tins loose. I'm sure they fixed it by now. Is it under warranty? You have like a 2-year warranty with the stadium project?
Yeah, there's warranties on, I don't know the specifics, but yes, there
Okay.
is some warranties related to portions of that project.
Okay.
Other questions? Not, is there a motion to approve the acceptance of the MHS Stadium project as complete and approve the release and payment of the final retainage in the amount of $14,170.05 as presented?
Move to approve.
Second.
Hernandez Faltis, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. And we're at policies, which is Maria.
Yes. Okay, so policy 904.01, transporting students in private vehicles. That one's no changes, marked as reviewed. 904.02, advertising and promotion. No changes, marked as reviewed. 905.01, community use of school facilities and equipment. No changes, marked as reviewed.
Any questions about those policies from Maria?
I think it's perfect timing to review 905.01. I know as a district, we do try to do our best to work with the community to be using space. Just a couple of questions, clarifying questions. I don't know if we can move the needle on. One is access to the buildings. Is there a better process to, like for example, volleyball yesterday, they're locked out 15 to 30 minutes before they could get in the building, waiting on a custodian or waiting somebody. Can we have a process set up in place where that person get a background check, be able to use their card to get in that building during the season to have volleyball practice?
Amy, this feels right up your alley.
Funny you should ask. Let's
Of course, we're willing to talk about some of the other ideas that you might have. We do have very specific procedures based on policy. So we really want to focus on safety and security of our students and ensuring that people that we know and have passed background checks are in our buildings. So our current procedure is school employees, district employees can get badges into buildings. We also have another specific procedure about citizen coaches who can also get into buildings, and that's more specific to gym time and that sort of thing. So if they go through our procedure to be one of our citizen coaches, that means that they're in our gym for one of a district-related activity. I think you're more talking about a club type of activity to be able to access our facilities, which we welcome and we want that to happen. We still have to have a safety and security hat on. So what we've really tried to do is say, our policies say our principals are in charge of those facilities, and we have told them and given them discretion to check out a badge that we've issued only to them, and they, upon their discretion, can check out a badge that is set for times after school. And it's basically a temporary badge that if they don't use it within 2 months, it'll deactivate itself. And that is so if we don't know that they're no longer part of the district, that they don't, or that they're not helping with that club, that there's not just a bunch of badges wandering around. I think I would extrapolate that maybe you're more concerned about if there are people that have asked a principal for permission and then they don't have a badge, how can we make sure that the people that are supposed to let them in are letting them in, that there's some sort of consistent calendar that people can look at and know this gym is being used at this time, is what I think I'm hearing.
I think you're correct. From what I'm hearing is that, yes, safety is important, but what does that do for like someone like Eric Whedon, right, that needs to know who's in what building at all times? So if you want to book gym space, the only body that knows it is that Linehan or Miller or Hoagland, whatever space it's in, right? Why can't we have a calendar for all so everybody can see what's going on also? Is that possible?
I think that's...
No, well, I think I guess it goes back to who you guys want to give access to, right? There's some entities that I think you want to give access to, right? Not for the community necessarily to see, but there's entities that it's important for them to know.
I know that I think Dr. Schutte wants to answer, but I would say from my standpoint and from what our policies say is that we give some autonomy to our principals to make decisions about their buildings. So that's what we've really strived to do, if strived is a word.
It is, 100%.
Okay, I nailed it.
But they on their calendar say, we don't want them in this building on Sunday.
Can I jump in
Friday.
here? So a couple things. So we started with policy, but I think kind of what we're more asking around is more of an administrative procedure, not necessarily a policy. But there have been discussions procedure-wise to kind of get to what you're talking about. Yes, I think we are striving for sure to get there. We have that flow path system that we've talked about, because we have had issues where I think like the auditorium maybe is on a Google Calendar, and then there's other facilities that might just be a manual process or something along those lines. So yes, there have been discussions, because that flow path, from my understanding system, it looks like there might be, if we can get it set up right, correct me if I'm wrong here, Amy, it's that, as a community member, we can go onto the website, get on to the calendar, and we can see that buildings and times are blocked off. So maybe not necessarily having access so that the community can know that, your youth volleyball group is at Hoagland at this time on a Saturday, but if you, as your group, are going on to get that gym space, you can see, okay, it's blocked off, somebody else already has it. Is that kind of what you're kind of getting at? Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say,
Okay.
and I'm not saying open it up to community, they can go on Google and look at who's where. there has to be a better system.
Yeah, I think
But still
we've
gives it-
explored that. We just haven't been able to get off the ground yet.
Still empower the principals to have it's their building, but what they can block off space doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah.
And figure out this key thing.
Great. Thanks.
Anything else on policies? Okay, then those three will all be marked as reviewed.
Please, thank you.
Abby, do you have anything else for communications tonight?
Just knowing that preschool sign up February 3rd. That's about it. That's more Shauna's thing though.
Shauna, do you want to share about the Harvard?
I will.
Like a steel trap. Oh, nothing gets by me.
So next week, Wednesday through Friday,
January 22nd through the 24th. We have 3 Harvard graduate students coming to lead the Harvard Leadership Institute for 59 middle schoolers. They went through an application process and they were selected. They've now told us their t-shirt size, and Adlin's will be printing off a Harvard t-shirt for them, because I think on Friday at 2 o'clock we'll be inviting parents in to come. They'll do a presentation. And they'll be working towards a community issue. If you're interested, I'm willing to share some of the responses with you. Like, they were just, I think I shared them with Aaron. It's just incredible to see what our young adults came up with different community issues that are here in Marshalltown and what they'd like to help solve. And then they attributed their leadership success to people who they're closest to, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, that sort of thing, but then gave a rationale. So just kind of made us extra proud to be serving Marshalltown students, and to see these middle school students really come through as leaders and aspiring leaders is really neat. So swing by the MAC anytime, Wednesday through Friday, we will be there. I think it'll be a great facility because they've got the big, banquet hall, and then they've got a lot of little breakout rooms so they can go do some collaboration, and just really excited to bring all the kids in and see what we can accomplish together. I'm sure we'll be back to present how that all goes, but very, very excited and very thankful to Terry Busby and Dave Adlin for the donation of the t-shirts.
Thank you, Shauna. Looking at reminders, Liz has initial review policies for next meeting. There's also some policy primers coming up. Franklin will be here to present to the board. Do we have any school visits coming up between now and then?
It says here it has Franklin. Didn't we just go there?
We just went there. They're coming here.
Oh, they're coming here. Oh, sorry. I read that wrong.
I was thinking Woodbury's our next one, but maybe.
So Franklin just did it in December, I thought.
Yeah, Franklin did do that. They were here.
Oh, it's a school visit. Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah,
that's
you're
right.
Franklin was here in December.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be Woodbury. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Woodbury?
My calendar shows January 29th, Woodbury,
Okay.
9:30.
So then Woodbury must be presenting at the February 3rd meeting.
That makes, yes, I can double check, but yes, that's probably true.
Okay. Okay. Then chapters 10 through 12 in the book study. Any committee reports since our last meeting?
Then just reminder, the board meeting is not until February 3rd, not this month. Thanks
Right.
for the reminder.
Right, we only meet once in January,
Once in January.
so we won't be back till after Groundhog Day.
That works out. Very happy or very upset?
That's right, well, that's exactly right. Any items for a future agenda? Sounds like we're gonna get Ellie back to talk about some attendance stuff, so that'll be good.
Yep.
Okay. What have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
It's always nice to hear from students, presentations from administrators or teachers is great, but when you see students presenting and talking about what they've learned, the experience they've done, it's great. So hearing from NHI, that was pretty amazing. It wasn't, I'm sure it was prompt, but it was their own words, so nice.
The approval of different agreements, school.
I'm always impressed by the high school course manual. As a small town kid who there weren't that many options in my high school, right? It has always impressed and amazed me the opportunities available for our students here in Marshalltown at the high school level. So that's always a big deal.
I'm a big city girl, and those opportunities weren't for me either. So how it's grown, how businesses are more collaborative with schools, and I agree. I really do like the Anson presentation. I love that they're learning history at the same time as literacy. So it's just really nice to see how they're learning both ways, intentionally, but unintentionally, just learning history while they're learning to read.
Interdisciplinary. It's important at the elementary level as well because they have a very short time for science and social studies, 20, 30 minutes max.
Yeah.
So we were able to see high quality integration.
On the visits, I remember where that was explicitly shown to us was like when we've been to Hoagland a few times. And the teachers talked about that transition within the first or second year of it happens.
Pretty neat to see.
Closed out that stadium project.
Did. Couple more to close out.
Couple more to close out.
I feel good about the strategic actions in the strategic plan really reflect a continuation of a lot of good work that we have going on right now, but it also has some stretch goals in each of those areas, which might be hopes or dreams, but a lot of the previous hopes and dreams came to reality, so maybe we can bring some of the other ones too.
I think the draft of the calendar as well is a good early on for families to plan vacation, if that gets approved here soon.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Because that's something we.
Is that a vacation or is that?
Well, because I know, like, for example, JBS, January is a big month for them to start planning vacation for December. So of next year. So, of the next year. So I think that's a good thing to have in hand when they're planning their vacation. And I know that's something we talked about at the SIAC committee when Ellie went and presented about having that calendar ahead of time for parents to see and plan their vacation for next year. It's not easy to plan a vacation when you're getting the calendar in May when you already did it. So, especially for those big corporations or factories that plan a year ahead.
Yeah, where Christmas and New Year's fall dictates what what makes sense to do or not do as it relates to the length of winter break. And so anytime, quite honestly, we probably would have taken Thursday and Friday off after New Year's had it not starting school till September 3rd or whatever it was. So it's about every 5, 6, 7 years where you have the opportunity where it kind of makes sense because of where it falls to have a 2-week break versus most of the time you don't.
That week in Thanksgiving will make a big difference, I think, for some of our students.
I know it will help, like, for me on a personal level is I took some time off hoping that I could, go on a trip with my kids, but it didn't align with, with the school calendar. And so, I didn't want to be one, a parents, and being school board and, taking their kids out additional days. So we didn't do anything. I still took the time off though and spent some, the whole winter break with the kids, but it did really affect. And also because, another person that was going to join us for vacation, they are out until 2026. If they want to go during the holidays, they can't because they're a union worker, and unions have that union. So the next time that was available was until 2026. So having the calendar ahead of time really helps families plan those
for sure
vacations.
Well, is there a motion to adjourn this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor can say aye.
Hi.
Those say no. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Let's go Freeze.
Giselle, again, welcome back.